And this is another one of my little book reviews. You might have seen my last video where I emphasise the importance of reading. I mean, this is an outdoors channel, but you can get so much pleasure out of reading. It really sets your head straight, focuses your mind, relaxes your mind, so that you're better able, I think, to enjoy the things around you. So reading really helps settle the mind. I've read lots of books. I'm sure you've read lots yourself, but there's just a few books that really stand out. Even out of literally the hundreds that you've read, you can probably pick 5 or 6 of the books that you really think that was amazing, whether it's the way it's written or the subject material or both. And the one I want to share with you and just read a little section of is Annapurna by Herzog, Maurice Herzog, a French alpinist. Now, I enjoy the mountains. I go to Snowdonia a little. But this is something else. I mean, the description of the adventure, they didn't even know where Annapurna was precisely. They had to ask locals when they went out. A big expedition, huge expedition, the first summiting of Annapurna. And it's a very tricky, I mean, we hear about Everest and all that sort of thing all the time, but then you've got other mountains like K2 and Annapurna, and they're really difficult climbs. And as I say, they didn't even know where it was to start with, and when they found it, they did manage to summit it, but the trip down was just something else. It's usually the hardest part, I think, getting off the mountain after you've got up there, and the descriptions of what they have to go through is just unbelievable. And it's the perfect book to read when you're sort of tucked up in bed at night, you know, and the wind's whistling outside, and you're reading something where people are going through an extreme hell, really. Let me just read just a little section of this for you, give you a taste of what it's all about. This is sort of towards the end of the book. We had eaten nothing since the day before, and we had been on the go the whole time, but man's resources of energy in the face of death are inexhaustible. When the end seems imminent, there still remains reserves, though it needs tremendous willpower to call them up. Time passed, but we had no idea of it. Night was approaching, and we were terrified, though none of us uttered a complaint. Rebufat and I found a way we thought we remembered, but we were brought to a halt by the extreme steepness of the slope. The mist turned it into a vertical wall. We were to find next day that at that moment we had been almost on top of the camp, and that the wall was the very one that had sheltered the tents, which would have been our salvation. We must find a crevasse. We can't stay here all night. A hole, it's the only thing, but we'll all die in it. Night had suddenly fallen, and it was essential to come to a decision without wasting another minute. If we remained on the slope, we should be dead by the morning. We should have to bivouac. What the conditions would be like, we could guess, for we all knew what it meant to bivouac above 23,000 feet. With his axe, Terre began to dig a hole. Lachenel went over to a snow-filled crevasse a few yards further on, and then we suddenly let out a yell, and he disappeared before our eyes. We stood helpless. Would we, or rather would Terre and Rebufat have enough strength for all the manoeuvres with the rope that would be needed to get him out? The crevasse was completely blocked up, save for the one little hole where Lachenel had fallen through. Stuck up a mountain at 23,000 feet, after expending nearly all of their energy summiting Annapurna and trying to get down. They didn't know it, but they were not far from the camp, but not far vertically. That's something else. It's described as a classic of its kind. The vivid, high-powered, but never over-dramatised account of the ascent still reads splendidly. That was climbed in 1950, and at that time no mountain higher than 8,000 metres had ever been climbed. Maurice Herzog and other members of the French Alpine Club resolved to try. It's just an amazing story of adventure. There's lots of stories about mountains and mountaineering, and some good Everest ones out there. But I don't know, there was just something about that one, all about Annapurna. It's just a little bit off the beaten track. You know, you don't read about Annapurna all the time. And being in 1950, of course, the equipment that they used, you know, all canvas tents and that kind of thing, it's not like the modern equipment we have today. So yeah, books about adventure. That's my thing. I hope you'll enjoy my next video.